Tired of serving up the same old tasteless victuals to your family? Step up your grill game with new seasonings from Cloy's Southern Eats. Based off famous Southern recipes, our seasonings will add what's been missing to your family's feast. Add it to steak, chicken, shrimp, you name it. Serving up these fixings is going to make you the hero at home. So head on over to CloysSouthernEats.com and order yours today. Come get you some.
And welcome to the Razorback Football Report with Otis Kirk. I'm your host, Jason Pattyson. And, the Razorbacks fell yesterday in a tough one to Alabama, 24-21 on the road. And honestly, it was an effort that a lot of us didn't see coming from this team that seems to be reeling over the last 4 games.
Yeah, I'll say one thing about this team, though. I'll say a couple of things. One, I don't know how many of the teams in the top 25 had they gone to these 4 teams places. How many of those would have gone, would have any of them gone on forward 1-3 or whatever? I mean, the game, like I've said all along, the game is going to bite them in the butt is the BYU game. Let's face it. I mean, to this point, but these last 4 games, and you can whine about moral victories, you can whine about what you want. I don't care. But my point is, they've gone to 4 different places, had a chance to win 3 of those 4 games in the fourth quarter. They fought their butts off. They didn't lose 52-0 and smile. They didn't lose, 42-6 and hammer down. I mean, they didn't lose. Didn't lose big, like 52-0 and never yield. So I mean, let's don't act like it's been great football. I've seen football for a long time at Arkansas, and one thing I've noticed about this team, they're still playing their butts off for Sam Pittman, and I still say it's the same issue that's been. I don't, I see people wanting Cody Kennedy fired. I hear all that crap. Look, Cody Kennedy didn't forget how to coach since the Liberty Bowl. They set a bowl record for total offense in that bowl game with backup running backs, both of them getting 100 yards or more. AJ had 99, and they changed it to 100 sometime in the offseason. I was looking the other day, and they credited him with 100. It was 99 that night. But whatever. My point is, Cody Kennedy didn't forget how to coach. The common denominator to all this is they made a coordinator hire, and it's not that. And I guess the way it sounds, I think Dan Enos is just terrible. I don't think he's terrible offensive coordinator. I think he's a terrible fit for this football team. I mean, he's not a bad person. Dan's a good person, but
he's a good dude.
I think he's a bad fit for this football team. I think to me, that's the common denominator. People say, well, Look at the offensive line. It's a reflection of their coach. Well, it's the same guy's been the coach for 3 years. 2021, they lead the nation in rushing. 2022, they went 9-4 and went to a bowl game. 2022, that's just like KJ Jefferson. Well, he's good, he's a great athlete, but he sucks as a quarterback. Yeah, really? The guy that was the MVP against Penn State in the Outback Bowl, the guy that was the MVP in the Liberty Bowl, the guy that's going to own nearly all the passing records at Arkansas, or when he leaves here, or be close to the top of all of them. That's Greg Thomas. How hard that is. That's Quinn Grove. That's Quinn Grove. I mean. Yesterday, his touchdown passes tied Ryan Mallett, at Arkansas for touchdown. Tying Ryan Mallett. Yeah, he played more season, Ryan. But the point is, KJ Jefferson hasn't forgotten how to play. The common denominator has been the change in offensive coordinator. And I've beaten that horse till it's dead. I get it. And, I question them not playing A.J. Green more. I've made that point. The guy's averaging 6-point-something yards a carry. Nobody else is even remotely close to that, including Rocket Sanders.
And he got 8 touches yesterday for, if I'm not mistaken, 44 yards.
Yeah, he led the team in rushing yesterday, Jason. And he leads them nearly every time, and he does it with fewer touches than some of the others. And I had a guy try to tell me it was his pass blocking. Look, let's be honest. A.J., Rashad, and Rocket are not good pass blockers. If you want a pass blocker, put Dominic Johnson in, because the other three are not good pass. My point with is AJ, not Rocket. My point with AJ is when it's a running play, more running plays, he needs to get more touches in the running game. If you want to take him out on third down passing situations, if you want to put Dominic Johnson or somebody in there, fine. If you want to put Rashad in there, fine. And I'm not saying don't play Rashad. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is AJ Green. It's just like against BYU. He had 3 carries for 63 yards on the first drive, including a 55-yard touchdown. And for an offense that's searching for explosive plays, to only give him 6 touches the rest of the game, that's pathetic. And I don't even know who to blame on that. I don't know if that's all, if it's Jimmy, if it's Sam. Maybe it's all of them. I don't know. But I'm just saying it, and this is from somebody that's watching football, not an expert. Those coaches have forgotten more than I know. But, I get paid, like I told somebody the other day, I get paid to give my opinion. I'm going to give it. It ain't always favorable. And it may not even always be right, but it is my opinion. And Lanny's paying me to give my opinion and write stories and stuff. And I'm not going to sit here and try to get on here and say everything sucks or 2-5. It's terrible. I'm not going to get here and say everything's great. To me, they've played 5 games, they've lost 5 games. They played 7 games. They've had a chance to win 6 of them. I'm not going to say they had a chance against A&M because really, to me, that late made that even look closer than it was. I thought going in they had a chance to win that game, but but for the most part, take away the A&M game, they've had a chance to win they've had a chance to win every one of those other games. Now look, I'll be the first to tell you, they've got to start winning some of those, Jason.
Yeah.
How many touchdown or less losses can you have, and continue on? But so far, I will say this, and this is a credit to Sam Pittman and all the coaches and the players. They have not let go of the rope over there. Anybody that thinks this team quit. I saw these tweets and stuff post on Facebook. This team's quit on Sam Pittman, or you're not watching. Either you're not watching the game and you're just wanting to run your mouth, or you just don't know anything about football. You're a complete dumb. Well, I better not say that. It's one. You're either watching it, you're not watching the games, or you don't know a damn thing about football because they
exactly.
You can be mad about the loss. You can be disappointed. You may not even want close losses. But to sit there and say this team quit on Sam Pittman, that's bull.
It is. Let's. I got a clip here with Rashad Dubinion. I got Rashad Dubinion and Jaheim Thomas after the game yesterday, and this validates everything you just said.
Yeah. Well,
the game didn't fall the way we wanted to, but at the end of the day, I'm proud to be a Razorback, and I'm proud of our team.
Piggyback off this, I feel like we fought like we're never give up. And I like that about the team. We just got to pull through and finish.
Yeah, they're right. Jaheim, Rashad played their butts off. KJ and Landon played their rears off. The whole team did. It's not that it's not that I think anybody's not coaching the rear off or playing the rear off. It's just that I think I've watched some things with Alabama this year, and I've noticed one thing, and I even asked Sam Pittman about this. I guess it was, well, it had to be last week because the week they played Alabama. I said, it's Monday, actually. In Monday, I asked Sam Pittman, do you think at Alabama, Coach Saban, be it Coach Reese, the offensive coordinator, whoever, do you feel like they've modified their offense to fit around Jalen Milroe, their quarterback?
Yeah.
Yeah. And see, that's what I've noticed, because they don't have a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback like they've had. I could name, these fans know more of them than I do. I mean, you can name a long list of, you've had guys like Jalen Hurst, Tui, Bryce Young. I mean, you just on and on about the quarterbacks out. They don't have one of that caliber. And Jalen Milroe, but I've noticed they've taken the offense. They played him. He didn't play well. They benched him. They didn't play well. They brought him back in. And what they did, Coach Saban got away from the offense that kind of Lane Kiffin helped install there, that they prefer, the spread, the hurry up. They love it. And that's probably what Coach Saban wants to run. But he adjusted the offense to fit his quarterback instead of asking the quarterback to fit something he couldn't do. And I haven't seen Arkansas do that with Dan Enos, with KJ and them. It feels like he's trying to fit them in, all those guys, offensive line and the quarterback and everybody, into what he wants and what he does, instead of adjusting to what has worked for them in the past. And it's easy to point out that, they struggled against Missouri at the offensive line. They struggled here and there last year. Look, Alabama struggled. They had Alabama's got all these five. So they didn't have a left tackle who could block Landon Jackson. I mean, offensive lines are going to struggle from time to time.
They went through two of them yesterday. Two of them because of him.
Yeah. And so offensive lines are going to struggle from time to time, and they struggled against Liberty last year. Now, I'm not saying Cody Kennedy's perfect or he's, this or that, but I'm just saying he hasn't forgot how to coach. And Cody Kennedy is all I know is it's the same coach that was there in 2021, 2022. And like I said, the last game he coached with Kendall Briles here, who we talked about, we talked about whether it was me and you or me and Ty. We talked about it at length about Kendall Briles being a good offensive coordinator, but with some weird calls from time to time, leaving just going crazy. And I feel like that. I feel like Sam didn't make a good hire there. I feel like if you had, even if it had been Briles come back for one more year, or had he hired Dow Loggins instead of Dan Enos, I think this would have been a lot different season. And I just think there's a play or two, a call or two that's killing them every game, and a few more than one or two. But I just think that there's some adjustments that could have been made that haven't been made, and doesn't appear like they're going to be made. But the players, regardless of that, none of them have quit. They staying in there. They're playing their rears off. And anybody that says they quit on Sam, they're just trying to start something, because or like I said, they don't know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. But I do believe had Enos came back for another year, and I don't think Enos is God's gift to the offensive coordinators. I think he's okay, but I mean, he has some strange calls. I feel like he's called to Arkansas at times. But overall, I think he's pretty good. But Dow Loggins would have been a good one. There's other guys. I mean, there's a lot of offensive coordinators. He's done a good job with Spencer Rattler. You don't see the issues that South Carolina, that Arkansas is going through here. Now, they're not winning all their games, but I think they're getting beat by teams that are kind of like Arkansas at times, better than them, but their offense is putting up a pretty good number. I watched a lot of that South Carolina-Florida game yesterday, and Florida came back and won, but South Carolina put up some huge numbers offensively, Jason.
They did. I will say this about the offense yesterday, last part of the third quarter and all of the fourth quarter, there is something that changed. Sam talked about making some adjustments at halftime, which they did. And one thing that really has killed this offense this season has been slowing down the tempo, trying to get all the right reads, all the right looks, making sure that KJ's got, he's identified the safety that he needs to identify, also the middle linebacker, instead of just reading your ends. He did that yesterday towards the end, and that's when you really started to see this offense started to click. They had a rhythm. There was some consistency and continuity. And when you saw that, guess what happened? You got 2 touchdowns out of it. Yeah. And they have to go back to that, because if they go back and revert back to what they did in the second and most of the third quarter, they're screwed the rest of the season.
Yeah, and something else I noticed they did just in that second half is they put Isaiah Satania in there at the slot, and they threw that slot. Eno's likes these short passes, the quick hitting passes, the quick passes. But you've got Tyrone Broden, 6'7". These guys are big, trying to do that to Slaw, and Armstrong seems to be able to do that, but most of those guys struggle with that. Whereas Isaiah's perfect for that. You love them small, shifty receivers, in there on that quick hit and slant and stuff. And KJ put a bullet into Isaiah, and he caught the ball. Isaiah needs to play more receiver. I'm not in the boat there yet with like I am with AJ, but I've said all year Isaiah needs to play more receiver. AJ needs to play more running back. They've got some deals, but I like they rotate the receivers. But I'd like to see AJ get a few more reps at receiver. I like the kickoff and punt returns he does. I like that. Yeah. But as you get into the SEC, they take a lot of that away from you, no matter who you are. But he's got the potential to break one when he touches it. But I love him at receiver, too, especially if you're going to run this short field slants and stuff. And that was a nice little 2-point conversion call by Dan and KJ and them. It got the slant to Armstrong and let him use his thighs to get in the end zone. So, like I said, I'll credit people when I think they're doing right. I'll say it when I don't think they're doing things right. And that's why where I am with Dan. It's not personal. I don't hate the guy at all. I've never had a crossword with Dan Eno, so I like him. I think that I just don't think he's a good – and it's not, like I said, it's not that he's a bad defensive coordinator. I just don't think he's a good coordinator for this team. I don't think he's a fit with this team, Jason. There's a difference there because you can – you can take a – I don't know. It's just like when Sam was winning and going 9-4, there was rumors that Southern Cal might try to hire him. And I laughed my rear off. Sam Pittman at USC would be like Jed Clampett in Beverly Hills. I mean, come on, people. I mean, sometimes you don't fit.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think Dan's a good fit here. I laughed when I saw an LA reporter call me about that, about Sam was on a short list. And I said, you got to be kidding.
Gosh.
I said, that'd be like Jed Clampett out in Beverly Hills. Woo, doggies or something. I mean, come on, people. I said, they're not going to Sam Pittman. I said, that'd be the worst fit in the world out there. I mean, he's not a LA guy, and so sometimes you got to talk fits and adjustments and stuff. And I like the more hurry up pace of offense that Browse ran here. Like I said, and I'm not putting Browse on a pedestal that he's irreplaceable. I don't mean that at all. I've been critical of him. Biggest thing I was critical of him is I did say I thought he was a good offensive coordinator. I just felt like he'd have some brain dead calls every game that just leave you scratching your head. I mean, last year against A&M, they're driving down the field with Dominic Johnson, getting chunks of yards. All of a sudden, he puts Malik Hornsby in there and tries 3 plays with Malik and just kill the drive, Jason. Just stuff like that. The tight end sneak at Missouri, I felt like, what are you doing?
I will say this. The Ravens Ravens tried that actually today with Mark Andrews on a 3rd and 1, and they still didn't get the ball. Or they didn't get the first down. But going back to your point with Isaiah Satania really quick, Sam Pittman touched on that yesterday after the game.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it. But because
wrong one. Sorry, y'all. It's this one.
How you address your team, how the team responds to you. There's a lot of things because, you 5 in a row is a lot in a row, and so your main concern is how do you motivate the team and how do you get them better and are you going to lose them and things of that nature. And I think we all can agree we haven't done that, but we've got to figure out a way to win.
Okay, that was Sam on the close losses. I don't have that Satania video up, it looks like. So
well, he's right about that. I mean, that's what they've got to do. They've got to win. I mean, the close losses and stuff. But I mean, you've got to eventually you got to start winning some of those close losses too. But it just seems like that they've got to start winning games. I mean, Jason, whether they beat Florida or not, but you've got to win these other games. And Missouri's not going to be easy here. None of these games are going to be easy. Mississippi State's not a good team, but they had a bye week. they played a bad team the week before, so they've almost had like 3 weeks to prepare for this game. So, yeah, but
Mr. Tree W says, I don't think this offense is gelling. I was at the BYU game on the 10th row behind the bench, and offensive players did not seem to be as tight as they have been in the past. Is that something that you've noticed, with the minimal time that you've been at practice and during the press conferences, Otis?
not really. I mean, I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying I don't think that's an issue. I think part of that may be, I think he may be right, but I think part of that is frustration, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen KJ come off the field and yell at people on the offensive line. And I don't think it's the fact that they're not as close as they were in the past. I think they're frustrated.
Yeah.
I think that's what I think he may be right, but I think it's more out of frustration than that they don't like each other or something like that. I just think, and he's right, the offense hasn't gelled. But I just feel like part of that, though, I think more fact they haven't gelled. I think more of that's out of frustration than out of the fact that the players don't like each other. I think they genuinely like each other, and I mean,
they do.
I'm not out with these kids. I don't know, but I don't think it's an issue of that. I think it's more frustration. I think he may be onto something there, but I think it's more frustration than anything else, Jason.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that is a bright spot so far, other than the defense, is the kicking game this year. And I'm going to tell you, Max Fletcher from first of the year to yesterday has really kind of turned a corner because he was flipping the field for Arkansas yesterday. And Sam kind of touched on that, and also with Cam Little, again, another 50-plus yard boot. And I'm going to tell you what, those guys, I mean, he honestly kept Arkansas solely in the game. Cam did at the first with getting that 6-0 lead.
Yeah.
I might want to do it again, but he rugbyed well and he kicked well, and he was outstanding. I told him on the sideline coming off, I said, "You're the reason we're in this game. You're the reason this happened. You're the reason." I mean, it is. I mean, he flipped the field, and man, wasn't he good? He was. Our specialists are kicking and punting as good as anybody in the country.
Yeah. I've seen criticism of Scott Fountain, and I've never understood that. I mean, the guy's got Cam Little kicking it out of the end zone.
Yeah,
Touchbacks nearly every time. You've got Cam Little missed one field goal all season. Yeah, it was unfortunate that was against BYU, but hey, it happens. And then Max Fletcher, he had what game was it the BYU game where he had 2 really bad punts, Jason?
Yeah, he did. He had one of like 10 and 20 yards, something like that. It was just
28
awful.
or 24 or something. Yeah, that was a BYU game. Other than that, he's kicked his butt off. I mean, he has really kicked well. So, yeah, special teams have been good. One thing that's impressed me with with Cam Little, not Steve Little, but Cam Little, one thing that's impressed me there is the fact that he's took on kickoff duties this year. And in the past, they've had somebody else do that, afraid that it might affect his placements, but there's no evidence of that. I mean, if anything, he's gotten better. And so his kickoff, they always knew Cam could kick it in the end zone. You know, Vito Cavaruso's back at Arkansas now, transferred before the Outback Bowl. And so Cam had to kick off in the Outback Bowl. And there was no drop off there. He kicked it out of the end zone every time, into or out of the end zone every time. It was touchbacks. But that was the deal. But so he hadn't affected him. I know they tried to get other people to do that in the past, but it hasn't affected Cam. And that's impressive that he could keep doing that. As far as somebody's asking about the email deal, look, I mean, I don't think he ought to be replying to students, but the fact that, you know, hey, they replied him. I mean, they emailed him. So if he replies them, I mean, if I email somebody, I'm not offended by getting a reply. It'd probably take the high road there. But I will say this, because I get this from time to time, and I'm not putting myself in the stature of a coach or anything, but I have people from time to time come at me. It's easier to say you should just take the high road there. It's easier to say that than do it. I mean, sometimes people come at you, and I've gone at people when it would have been easier to take the high road. But sometimes you're frustrated, and you're getting people emailing you with questions and statements, and you know, I I mean, he'd be better off not to reply him, but I don't think that's a big deal. To me, it's not a big deal. It's probably a bad look for him,
Yeah.
but it's a bad look for him. I don't think it's a big deal. I mean, his offense not playing well is a much bigger deal to me than that. I don't want to try to find something like an email deal and turn that into reason to turn on. You know, me, it's been just a lack of the offense functioning really like it should. I know they can do better.
How damaging will the NIL will be the NIL for college football? I see 4 tiers where top A and B tiers are the cream of the crop and the next best, while C and D teams are low based on NIL money.
Well, you know, there's 2 ways to look at that. One, I think the NIL and the transfer portal, well, you like
things
them or
out,
not,
really.
I think they balance college football out more than anything, because now it's more schools are getting some of these top players than just Alabama and Georgia getting all these 5-star high school kids, and you're stuck to play who you got or go take a chance on a JUCO kid that we know may or may not turn out. I think it's balanced to that. I think with what you've seen with the trend, and I'm talking more about the trend, and I'm answering his question, but I think it's more transfer portal as balanced college football, and the fact that there's no reason to completely rebuild. You lose 20 players to the portal, you can go get you 20 players. There's no reason to have to completely rebuild a football team now. As far as NIL, I mean, it's here. It may throw the balance off. I do think that with the NIL and the transfer portal both, I don't think they're terrible for college sports, but I do think I think both were put in without a lot of thought about them. And I think it was like NCAA, I can't do anything, threw their hands up, and that's what brought it on. But you don't want to be the wild, wild west out there. You just don't. And that's what it's I think they're
what it really is right now.
On some of this, Jason. And believe me, I don't have all the answers to it. I really don't. But I don't know. I think if you're wise with that, you can balance college sports a little bit with it. But it may get to the point that there is 2 tiers. But was there not really 2 tiers to start with? I mean,
there was. There's been 2 tiers since the 80s, whenever everybody at SMU was getting paid.
Yeah, you had
A&M.
You had now some of these schools that did NIL before NIL was NIL, some of these schools are getting caught up with now. They're not dominating. I mean, I mean, let's be honest, Alabama's not dominating like they once were, whether they were doing that or not. I mean, there was allegations, but they're not dominating now. They're good. And Nick Saban's there. They'll always be good with Nick Saban. I mean, with Nick Saban, your head coach, you're going to be pretty darn good if you're in college. But I think it's some of that. I don't think it's all bad. I think some of that's balanced it out.
It really has, because I mean, you don't see football players driving around on golf carts at car dealerships now these days, making $50-$60 an hour like they used to back in the day.
Yeah,
and it's happened. Don't question. I mean, nobody out there in Hogville or anything like that, don't question, because I know Otis, you and I know both that happened quite a bit.
There was a lot of that. There was, like I said, NIL before NIL was a thing. There was plenty
of
there was some schools really, and SMU had it down pretty good there for a while. But I don't think it's. I mean, the thing about it is, here's the deal: with NIL transfer portal, you can be a guy like the coach at Clemson or the coach at Stanford and not take transfers. You can hate everything. Look, you can adjust to the times, or you can get left behind. And that's what's
getting left behind.
I mean, you people get on this Coach Prime for taking it to the extreme, but I mean, hey, if it's illegal and who's
going to stop him?
Yeah, if it's illegal and you're doing it, you're playing by the rules. Musselman stretches, not just Musselman. I think Musselman, Pittman, and Van Horn have all done a great job with the transfer portal, Jason. I think they have always done a great job. I know Eric gets a lot of credit for that, and I agree with it. I'm not disagreeing at all. I think he's an outstanding coach. But I think Sam's done a good job with the transfer portal. I mean, you look at Landon Jackson. People forget he came from LSU. You look at Jaheim Thomas from Cincinnati. I could go on and on and on. And So I mean, I think, and it's obvious, Dave Van Horn's done a good job with baseball. I think Courtney's done a good job. Dudley would be certainly more apt to talk about it than me with what Courtney's done in softball, but I know she's gotten some transfers.
Yep.
So I mean, and done a good job with them. So I mean, Dudley more qualified is what I'm saying. Well, I couldn't think of the word qualified, but
Even Jordan Weaver with the gymnastics team, she had Laura Flatley transfer after 4 years, a stellar career at UCLA, and she comes over here and she lights it up too.
Yeah, so I mean that's what I'm saying. If it's the rules, you've got to adjust to them. You've got to get with the times. I know some people, some older reporters who refuse to do Twitter, who refuse to do this and refuse to do that. And I'm telling you, man, you either adjust to the times or you get left behind. That's just life. I'm not the biggest fan of Twitter myself, but I mean, I either get on it or I'm gonna get left far behind. I'll be lost. And so I mean, you've got to adjust. And I just think I think with the NIL and I know the question was about NIL, but I don't know. I mean, to me, there's always been tiers anyway. I mean, you look at Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, the typical schools were in a tier above a lot of schools anyway before NIL. So, I mean, LSU was up there. I mean, look at that team with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, all those receivers he had. I mean, so I think it levels the playing field some. If you're wise with the portal, you can avoid big rebuilding years if you're smart with the portal. And Andrew Armstrong, I think Arkansas has done that, and it's not showing in the record right now. But I mean, you just look at who Pittman, because I'm talking football. I'll let Kevin talk basketball and Dudley talk baseball and softball. But I mean, so I'm from a football aspect, I think Sam's done a good job with the portal for the most part. And there's exceptions to everything. But for the most part, I think Sam has gotten better players from the portal than he has lost. Now, I know you can come up with exceptions to that. I get that. And I fully agree. I agree. But I'm just talking about as a whole. I'm talking about as a whole. I feel like Sam and Arkansas has gotten better players out of the portal than they lost as a group. I'm not going to break down every individual kid they've lost or every individual kid they've gotten. We don't have 2 days to be here for that. But I'm just saying, as a whole, I think Arkansas has done better getting them than they have than what they've lost out of the portal.
Yeah, they have. So I want to give a quick shout to our sponsor, Coy's Southern Eats. You can find all of their great products in Central Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas. Also at Coy's Eats, southerneats.com and on Amazon, and go and re-experience the magic of Coy's. Come get you some. So let's turn the page real quick. You got Mississippi State coming in this week, 11 a.m. kick on ESPN. They're coming off of a bye week. They really kind of needed it. And Zach Arnett and that offense has been really in the last couple of weeks. Mississippi State had a pretty good game plan against Alabama 2 weeks ago. They were in it with the first half, and then Alabama's experience and talent kind of took over in the second half. In front of a sold, and I don't know if it's completely sold out, but from what Sam said yesterday, it's a standing room only. So for that to be an 11 o'clock game with a 2-5 team, that's saying that there's a lot of faith still in this fan base and behind the team and the coaching staff for that matter. It's going to be really important to see what type of offense Arkansas puts out there this weekend.
I think one thing that helps with attendance. I haven't heard that. I know what he said, but I had heard otherwise. But we'll see what the attendance is. But I think homecoming helps it too. And I think people are ready to get back, go to a game. And the weather's been pretty dang good. It's supposed long range forecast call for pretty sunny Saturday and pretty nice temperature. So it's not so hot. It's not brutally cold like the Liberty game last year. But I think it's a lot has to do with the being homecoming too, Jason. Plus, they've been gone for a month. I think people are, John and I were going down to Arlington a couple of weeks ago, and I told you then, I said then, I saw more Arkansas fans on the road that day than I'd ever seen. And I go to that game nearly every year. I haven't been there every year. In fact, I didn't go the first 2 or 3 years they played there, but since then I've gone nearly every year. And I don't usually see that many Arkansas fans going down. Maybe it's coincidence that we left the same time or what, but it just seemed like there was a lot of Arkansas fans more than ever on the road that day, and less construction in Oklahoma, which double pluses.
So, and with you bringing that up with the attendance, there is a little caveat to this. And a lot of people, I know that, fellow Arkansans that are from the state, they put an emphasis on this too. But the 21st is also muzzleloader season. That's the first day of muzzleloader season. So there's going to be a lot of guys up in tree stands listening to Chuck and Quinn that won't be in the stands. So that might leave an opportunity for maybe some extra folks that haven't had a chance to get in there and watch a game, go take it in.
One thing I will say to people, and I've said this back even when I was on Sports Route with Chuck Barrett, one thing I've always asked people, look, you bought the ticket, you can do what you want to with it, but if you're not going to go, at least if you can't sell it, give it to somebody that can't, maybe a family that can't afford to go to games. It'd be awesome. I've always tried
that these days too.
Give the tickets away instead. Don't just not use them. I guess now they're all digital. I don't know if there's actually, I don't think there is print. I don't know. I haven't bought a ticket in 100 years, but but these digital, but you can transfer these digital tickets. But if you're not going to use yours, give it to somebody. Try to find a family that maybe loves it but can't go, and have butts in the seats, because they don't need empty seats. Because there's going to be some good recruits there Saturday, Jason. It's important for those kids to see, even if some of them are committed. I mean, Carius Kern from Marion's going to be there. He's not committed. 2025 defensive tackle. Georgia offer. He's been to Georgia. He's been to Mississippi State. He's been to Ole Miss. I believe he's been to Ole Miss. He's been here and there. Tennessee's offered. Ole Miss, was offered. Give it. Put on a show. Get the butts in the seat so these kids can see that, because it's important in recruiting. Because this team's not always going to be a 2-5 team, or 5-7 or 6-16. One of these days they're going to break out of it. They were 9-4 a couple of years ago, and you just got to look at it. That's the way I look at it. It's not life or death with me. It's a game, and I see people ranting and raving, and I wasn't at the Cincinnati game last year. I was fighting for my life, and I figured out laying in the hospital on that Sunday when I finally got out of a coma. I figured out life is worth more than just a football game. I mean, it's a game, and that's what it is. You're not fighting out there. You're fighting to win that game, but you're not fighting for your life. And it really kind of woke me up to some things. And so maybe I look at it different. Maybe I'm not as avid as mad as I should be, but as a sports journalist, not a fan, it's my job to be objective about this stuff and not try to be a fan. There's nothing worse than the people in the media being fans. I mean, and you can't do stuff like a fan when you're in the media. If you're going to have a media, then run it as a professional, as out, and do it in a objective way. You just can't be a fan, Kane and Sandy. If everybody everybody in the world was like Kane and Sandy, it'd be a better world, period. Wouldn't be war.
We had no more problems.
There wouldn't be crises. I mean, probably wouldn't be worried about politics, or just be good people. Kane is a great guy, man. I mean, a great guy. I won't call him a kid, although I know he's about 40 years old or so, but Kane is just a good person.
He's a kid at heart too, man. Like the rest of us.
That's what being a fan is, and that's who should be a fan. People like Kane, and that's why he enjoys. This is his life, and going and seeing the Razorbacks means the world to him. And so I'm proud for Kane. Every time he gets to go see a recruit play or come see the Hogs play, I love Kane and Sandy. And you're right. I wish everyone was like him. I mean, it's just be a lot better world, period. You take sports completely out of the equation. If everybody's like Kane, it'd be a lot better world. It would be.
So, what recruits do you know of that are going to be here this weekend that are confirmed?
Well, I haven't even started working on the list yet. I just know Carius Kern's going to be here. I think Grayson's coming. Some Mark Swimmer and some of those guys. I haven't even really started working on a list yet, Jason. I will here in the next day or two. But I think the 11 a.m. kickoff may hurt them a little bit with a couple. But for the most part, I think they'll still get. That cuts down on some of the kids coming from longer. Now, some of the kids nowadays play on Thursday night. If you do play on Thursday night, that makes it easier for them to get here. 11 a.m. kickoff. I love the 11 a.m. kickoffs. I get that a lot of the fans don't, and I get why. but I love them because I don't like working at 2 or 3 in the morning, which most nights I am on Sundays mornings. But but I like the early kickoffs. But I wouldn't have minded if this one had been maybe a 2:30 or 3 o'clock. I know it's not going to be CBS. I get that. I'm not naive.
Yep.
Think Arkansas is going to be the CBS game, but the 3 o'clock kickoff. I think there's some time slots there for 3 o'clock kickoffs and stuff. Or I like the
there's some
noon
opportunities.
kickoff. Yeah, there's but it is what it is. I mean, I cover the team. If I'm asked to go on the road, I'll go on the road. If I'm told not to travel, I won't travel. But if the game's at 11, I'll be there. If the game's at 3, I'll be there. If the game's at 6:30, I'll be there. So part of it. It's my job to throw dogs,
Yep. Well, everybody, I'm going to get you Otis out on that note, and make sure everybody to tune in. I'm going to be on with Dudley at 4:30 this afternoon. We're going to be talking baseball, softball, women's basketball's right around the corner.
Yeah,
we'll talk with him and Coach Neighbors about ready to get this season fired up, and it's going to be a fun time. Everybody check out the watch the game 11 o'clock ESPN this coming Saturday morning, and we'll be doing the post-game show, myself and Drake, after the game. We'll also, all 4 of us, will have our stories out for hogville.net, and be sure to look out for any new stories that Otis is going to be putting out this week as well.
Yeah, I hate the term must win, Jason, but this is a must win Saturday for Arkansas. I mean, it's a must win. I hate that phrase, must win, but it gets thrown around a lot. But this is absolute must win Saturday. I mean, it's great that you played these teams close and stuff, but it's time to start winning some football games now. And you don't want to lose your second game in a row at home. Even though it was a month apart, you don't want to do that. The teams you should have beaten, the teams you should beat.
No, definitely. Well, again, it's going to be kind of a nice thing as Otis, Arkansas's got Mississippi State, then you get the bye week. So hopefully these next 2 weeks are going to line up real well for Sam and the team. So, so for myself, Jason Pattyson, and for Otis Kirk, I want to thank you guys for jumping on with us. Again, we'll be back on here in just a little bit with Dudley, and this has been the Razorback Football Report with Otis Kirk. I'm your host, Jason Pattyson. Everybody, thank you for jumping on today.
Thanks for everybody listening, watching, whatever.